Honorable Speaker, once again allow me to begin by conveying my very deep condolences to the families of the young girls who lost their lives in Gilgil, Utumishi Academy. Honorable Speaker, even this afternoon as we welcome the students in the Speaker's Gallery, Thika High School, Muguna Girls, Non Kupir from Kajiado East and St. Angela from Kirene and Muranga, to also take this opportunity to speak to these students and ask them to honor not just the schools where they are attending, but also their parents, their teachers, and their colleagues in the schools. Because, Honorable Speaker, as you have said, cognizant of the fact that there is an ongoing investigation into the tragedy at Utumishi Academy, we must also, as a nation, come together at this time. Not only to speak to ourselves as parents, but also to speak to our students as our children, and implore on them on the need to grow up as responsible citizens. And I say that, Honorable Speaker, because at least I have had time to engage with some of these students today. I have just met the students' president from Thika High, Terence Giduku, who is in the Speaker's Gallery, and two of his deputies. And I had occasion to visit Thika High together with yourself about a week or two ago, last Friday, but one actually. And today, Honorable Speaker, you have presented the contribution of members of Parliament, including yourself, and a number of us, to support. And when I went through that list of the students being supported, I've seen some students with fees arrears of up to 120,000 shillings, who, out of the benevolence of members of Parliament, they now have support to continue their education. And these are the sacrifices parents make, and we are making as leaders also to support many of these students. When we went to Thika High School, Honorable Speaker, there was a young man who is seated in the Speaker's Gallery today, Isaac Mwai, who went to the school that I went to, Kikuyu Township Primary School. That young man went to Kikuyu Township Primary School, and he reminded the president when he met him at the science exhibition, that when the president 3 years ago went to commission KCPE at Kikuyu Township Primary School, that young man was a student at Kikuyu Township Primary School. But out of sheer discipline, he's now found himself in Thika High School, a very good school, and together with Terence Giduku and the other students, they are leading a student's body. And I want to speak to these young ones and ask them, please maintain discipline in school as you do at home. Many of the cases you hear, especially in this second term, Honorable Speaker, is because students probably are fatigued and want to go home. If you want to go home, you do not need to burn down anything. Not a dormitory, not a classroom, not a school bus, nothing. Honorable Speaker, I had the governor for Nakuru over the weekend pose the question, could these young ones be learning from us that whenever we want to protest, we must burn down buildings, we must burn down people's shops and people's cars? I saw the other week, people were protesting in Githurai and they had to burn down somebody's car. We must lead by example as leaders, and as parents, not just as leaders, as the people who are parents, anybody who is a parent or an aspiring parent. If we want to protest on anything as a country, let us not have fires everywhere, because these children could be copying from us or from the country. Therefore, I say that careful not to condemn anybody, Honorable Speaker, but to plead with the nation that we learn from our past mistakes. When the school in Ukambani, I think it was Changuli High School, when we lost 67 students in that school, there were measures that were taken, some of which I believe were already in place in this school. But that tells you we have a deeper problem than the physical things that we do. I don't know whether it will be enough to even put fire detectors and fire suppression systems in all these schools, but can we afford it as a country? Will parents be able to afford fire suppression systems in each and every dormitory in our schools, Honorable Speaker? Therefore, it calls for a deeper conversation. It is not enough, Honorable Speaker, today to just point fingers at each other. No, I heard somebody say that Parliament was praying when there was a fire in the school, Honorable Speaker. I know it's also reckless of anybody, whether you're in the media or you are a leader in whatever sphere, to claim that Parliament was praying at a time our children were burning in school, Honorable Speaker. The National Prayer Breakfast is something that rests in our calendar in Parliament. It is known, it is a set date. And we set that date last year. Nobody had planned for this fire, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, that person who was saying, and I don't to dignify them with naming them, because they don't need to be dignified from this floor, may I say, shame on you that you can take advantage of such an unfortunate incident to just throw barbs at this house. Even prayers, Honorable Speaker, I want to say, prayers work. And we must pray for our children. We must pray for our children in schools, in our homes, and as much as we pray for our nation, Honorable Speaker. Let me say again, this is a time that we are being called to converse individually in our homes with our children, collectively in schools, even on the platforms, political platforms and other platforms that we get, in our churches, because, Honorable Speaker, again, many of our church leaders have become more politicians than politicians. And that's why I continue to honor the Muslim faith, because I never hear anybody in a mosque speaking politics. But for us as Christians, this must be our time for introspection, to ask ourselves, even as we point fingers at administrators in schools, as we point fingers at political leaders, those of us who are serving in the church, where are we failing in shepherding these young ones in the right manner, Honorable Speaker? Because there is a failure somewhere. And I say that without pointing fingers at anybody, saying that it is a time that we need to come together and have a conversation as Kenyans and as humankind, Honorable Speaker, because we have a problem. And it is not a small problem, Speaker. It is a big, big, big problem. If we do not address it now, we will have more major problems in the coming days. Because these things that we see, these small incidences, a fire in a school, deaths in schools, an accident here and there, a small demonstration that turns out to become a very violent thing and you end up losing lives. These are just manifestations of a bigger problem that we must address, Honorable Speaker. My condolences to the parents. I have seen the anguish and the pain of those parents, and I identify with the pain that they feel. That you sent your young girl to go to school to secure her future, and now you have no child out of the actions of somebody else, Honorable Speaker. It is indeed painful, and I must say we must be careful what we say about these incidences, because we must remember their parents who are grieving, they are siblings of those young ones. Yesterday, I just saw on Facebook, Honorable Speaker, a young man share the pain that he's going through after losing the sister, and sharing pictures of the time he spent with the sister, even as she went back to school this term. And that girl is no more, Honorable Speaker. It is indeed painful, and we must share in that grief and pain with those parents and the school, and also recognize that these young ones, Honorable Speaker, even those in Utumishi, are traumatized. Maybe they never imagined it would get to what it has gotten to, but it is what it is now.
Thank you.
It will affect them for a long time, and we must ask maybe the chair of the Education Committee to make sure they engage with the Ministry of Education, to make sure that there is some level of counseling that is done to these students and those who neighbor that school. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The rest, let's take 2 minutes each. Robert Mbui. Robert Mbui. Is it on this, Robert, or something else? There's a mic next to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, you know, I've actually in my previous life been involved one time in handling a matter of arson in a school. And Mr. Speaker, what was surprising is that the children that were involved in that case of arson, majority of them had no idea why they were involved. And only one is actually the one who had the plan, because the intention was for the school to be closed so that they could go and restock their supply of drugs because they had run out. So sometimes there are very flimsy reasons that are used to cause these cases. And Mr. Speaker, arson is a crime. Unfortunately, when arson leads to people losing their lives, it ends up becoming murder, which is another crime. So the question we are now grappling with is how then do we try a crime that is actually at such a level as murder? Because yes, we know they are children, but then what about the ones who have lost their lives? So, Mr. Speaker, it's a very, very sensitive place we are in, and I want to agree with the Honorable Martha that maybe we don't get into too much into the details, but it is important that as we proceed, the government must come up with maybe a commission of inquiry. I remember a while back we had devil worshipping in schools, and there was a commission of inquiry that dealt with it. So maybe now we need to find out what is it that is making our children, just Kenyan children. Because, Mr. Speaker, this is not a global problem.